Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. My name is Lauren and on this channel I talk about books, and today's video is one that I am super excited for. I've always wanted to do a video like this and it just has never happened for whatever reason, and it's a new year, it's 2026, and I have set some goals for myself, and uploading more and doing more content is definitely a goal of mine this year. And videos like this I really enjoy watching from booktubers that I follow here on YouTube. So I really wanted to make a point to get a video out like this every month, and that is a reading wrap up. So today's video will obviously be the books that I read in January. I'm super excited to talk about them with you guys and just kind of recap the month of January. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first book that I read this month, I actually listened to it on Audible. It is The Marriage Method by Mimi Matthews. This is the second book in the Crinoline Academy. This book is really cute. The first one was really cute, and these books are kind of set up in a way that you are in the same world. In each book, you just follow different characters and their story in each installment. These books are kind of, I don't know if cozy is the right word, but they're just like really cute, kind of kitschy. They're not like super high stakes, but there is, I don't know, there is like a lot going on. You've got a love story, you've got a mystery, kind of like a murder mystery, and each of our characters kind of have the same goal, but like different objectives, if that makes sense. There is definitely romance that's happening. It is definitely like a romantic story, but it isn't spicy. It's definitely more on like the cute side of things. Like there's no explicit on-page romance or like spicy time happening. It is definitely implied, but it isn't explicit, if you know what I mean. One thing that I really enjoy about these books is that there is a lot of character development, not only from like a personal aspect of like the individual character, but the like love story also gradually develops as the story goes on. And like we kind of start out where our main characters, I wouldn't say that they're enemies, but they don't necessarily like each other, and they find themselves in a marriage arrangement that benefits them in like a public eye aspect, and then through that they slowly start to admire each other and discover things about each other that inevitably make them fall in love. To kind of set the stage for you, the year is 1864, which I adore because I'm a Vampire Diaries fan, and when Stefan and Damon became vampires, I kind of said that weird. When they became vampires, the year was 1864, so that kind of made me chuckle. But we follow our female main character. Her name is Penelope, but in the book she does go by Nell, who is a former student turned teacher of the Crinoline Academy, which is a school for orphaned girls that not only teaches them academics, but also teaches them how to take care of themselves and protect themselves in the outside world, which is definitely not something that's very common for young women or women in general of this time frame. You know, women in 1864 were definitely just sit down and look pretty, you know, be seen, not heard kind of thing. So this is very taboo for the time frame that we're in. We're also in England, so everyone is very prim and very proper, which I love because I did listen to the Audible of the story, and so all of the voice actors were English, which I adore. And Nell is sent to London on a task of the Academy, but instead, during this task for the Academy, she finds herself inconveniently engaged to a journalist who is trying to uncover secrets, if you will, of the Crinoline Academy while also solving the murder of one of his fellow journalists. So Nell is originally sent to London to locate a missing girl who was supposed to get on a train and head for the academy. And Miles, the journalist that she has to marry, is basically trying to solve the murder of this dead journalist. And as you would have it, the missing girl that Nell is after and the dead journalist are, of course, connected in a tumultuous kind of way. And we just kind of follow their journey of trying to complete both their tasks, trying to follow through on both of their objectives, and how they can solve both of their own separate mysteries together. And through this journey of partnership, they do, of course, fall in love. And the whole story is just very, very cute. I do think that I liked the first one better. That's just my opinion, but this book was still super enjoyable. I think that if I would have read it like on paper, I may not have connected with the story as much, but because I listened to it on Audible and I just love an English voice actor, I was more engrossed in the story. I enjoyed it more because of those elements, but it was still a really, really good book. I think I gave it 3 stars, maybe 3.25 stars on Fable. So it was a really enjoyable book. If she comes out with more books in this little world, this series, I will listen to them because they are fun. They're a good time. So yeah. The second book I completed in the month of January was The Immortal Consequences, which was the first book in the Souls of Blackwood Academy. This is the book that took me forever to read. I looked on my Fable and I started this book September 3rd of 2025. I don't know why this book took me so long to read, but it did, and not because it was bad. This book was actually so good. So in this book we follow, I want to say, 6 main characters with obviously supporting characters as well. We have a lot of side characters. We have the headmaster of the academy, who I really don't consider a main character, but he definitely has a major role, I guess you can say, in the book. He is, referenced and mentioned, and he has a lot of lines, if you will. So he is in there quite a bit, but I don't consider him a main focal point, but he is obviously an integral part to the story. But because we have so many main characters, there are a lot of points of views, there are a lot of personalities, we have a lot of moving parts, a lot of things happening within the story with many different people, all of which are important. But in my opinion, that made the story really, really compelling and really, really interesting. And maybe that's why it took me so long to get through the book, because there was just a lot of perspectives and personalities to digest at a time. Like almost every chapter you switched to a new character. And when you've got 6 main characters, that's a lot of of things that are kind of switching up. I mean, the plot is the same. Everyone's going through the same thing. You're just experiencing it through a different perspective. So it is kind of a lot to take in. So maybe that's why it took me a while. I would read kind of a chapter at a time, which was a perspective at a time. But in this book, we are at Blackwood Academy, and it's essentially the school for the dead. Everyone in this book is deceased. And I want to say that presumably everyone is 25 or younger. I don't think anyone, at their point of death, I don't think anyone is above the age of 25. We're all kind of university aged in this book. And upon their death, all of their souls have been chosen to be sent to Blackwood Academy, which is kind of like a realm, if you will, of the underworld. And the academy teaches these souls how to balance the underworld, and part of the students' training is helping other deceased souls pass on or be sent to purgatory. An event happens at the school every decade called the decennial, where a student is selected to participate in kind of trials to gain ascension, and the ascended kind of become super students. They're still students of the academy. They just never have to cross over into the unknown. And their souls are now trapped in the academy forever, I presume. And a part of becoming the Ascended is you gain access to like unlimited knowledge. I think you have like more perks of being in the school. You're able to visit different areas of the library, and your class schedule kind of changes. I guess you're in more advanced classes. So being the Ascended is kind of like the end goal for the students at Blackwood. You either choose to be the Ascended, or you choose to cross over into the other side, which is very unknown. Obviously, if you go to the other side, you don't come back, and so no one really knows what's over there. So it's far more common for the students to fight to be one of the Ascended. But as the story unfolds, we learn that the decennial is not exactly what we think it is, or what our main characters think it is going into it. And so we watch our main characters kind of discover this truth about the decennial, and navigating not only coping with their own death, but friendships, love, loss, and betrayal, all of these things that happened to them while they were alive. And they're also experiencing these things in the afterlife, and how they kind of like navigate these relationships. This book, you guys, it was so good. It was almost a 5-star for me. I think I rated it like 4.25, maybe even 4.75 in Fable. There just were some aspects of it where I did feel like it was kind of repetitive or drawn out, just because there were so many main characters, and you kind of got the same thing more than once within some of the characters' experiences, because some of them are friends. And so even though you're experiencing that experience through someone else's eyes, it's still sometimes the same experience. So I didn't love that all of the time. But the book itself was so good. The characters were so good. And the last, I want to say, like, I don't know, 4 to 5 chapters, like the last like 25% of the book, I was shook. I was jaw dropped. I was surprised. There's definitely a twist at the end that I wasn't fully expecting. I knew like something was up, but what ended up being up, I was like, oh, that's juicy. That's real good. So this was definitely a high point read for me. I know it wasn't necessarily just a January read. I have been reading this book for some time now, but I did read the bulk of it, probably like 65% of it in January. So it's a January read. I finished it in January, so it counts. And I'm so glad I finally got around to committing to finishing it, because it was so good. The next book I read in January, I actually listened to on Audible, and that is A Judgment of Powers by Benedict Jacka. This is the 3rd installment of the Inheritance of Magic. I have not talked about this series on my channel yet, since I have been listening to it on Audible. It never really gets talked about in like my TBRs or anything, because it's never put on a TBR. It's just something that I listen to on Audible while I'm at work, or I'm driving, or whatever the case may be. And so I just have never talked about it, which is such a shame, because this book, this series, is so delightful. Another book that our characters are in England, and so our voice actors are English, which I cannot say enough. I love, I adore. And these books are super, super fun. I would say, I don't know if this is considered high fantasy. I don't know. It's definitely fantastical. We've got magic going on, so I don't know. But we are in London, and we are following our main character, Stephen Oakwood, and he is navigating life in his early 20s. His mom left when he was younger, and his dad vanished when he was 15, so about 5-6 years ago. And in Stephen's world, magic is very real and is controlled by the wealthy and the elite. Through the first 3 books, we see him develop his magical abilities kind of on his own. He's discovering magic on his own. Like, it was like a hobby that him and his dad did, and once his dad went missing, he was kind of left to his own devices to figure things out by himself. So he's developing his magical abilities, he's uncovering truths about his family, and he is encountering endless amounts of danger. We've got people after him, the elite after him. They want his magic, and he happens to be related to some of these wealthy and elite, and they are threatened by him for a plethora of reasons that we discover throughout the books. And throughout the third book, we kind of see him develop, I wouldn't really say a bond, but we see him get closer to his mother's biological family, who are part of like this wealthy and elite, almost cult-like magical system. And there's a subgroup of people who also are entwined in this magical elitism, who are also kind of pining for him to join their cause. And he's kind of torn between the two because he knows that both, if he declines either one of them, they can both really make his life difficult and even kill him. So it's kind of like a struggle. He's kind of like balancing not committing to either one of them, but playing both sides while also trying not to die. These books are really, really action-packed, and there's a lot of world building. There's also a lot of magical system building. This is another one where I think if I read it on paper, I would be really confused and kind of like spaced outy, because you really have to pay attention to the magical system and the politics of this book. There's no romance. This is not a fantasy romance. This is strictly fantastical. And I really enjoy that. And it's also a male author, which I have not read a lot of books written by male authors, not for any reason in particular. I just think that a lot of fantasy romance is written by women. It just so happens to be that way. I know that fantasy, there's a lot of male fantasy writers, but I tend to stick to books that have romance included in them. It's just how it goes. But this book I just thought was really, really great, and I think that it's just fun that it is a male author and our main character is also a man. And I don't know, it just is like kind of refreshing and just really fun to read, like that perspective. It's really, really good time. So again, this was the third book in the installment, and I did stumble upon the author's blog page, and I did see that he mentioned that the fourth book is complete. It's just, I guess, in the editing stage. And he has already started drafting the fifth book. So there will at least be 5 books. So that's exciting. I'm definitely going to continue on with this series, and I will continue listening to it on Audible. It is just so much fun. It's not a dramatized version, but we do have, I don't know if it's just one voice actor, and he's really great at doing different voices because he does female voices as well. Either way, the Audible version is just spectacular. All right, the fourth book I read this month, well, in January, was Blood Moon by Brittany S. Lewis. And in this book, we follow our female main character, Mira, and she is embarking on her first year of college in her hometown of Timber Pines, Kansas. It's a small town that is rich with vampire and werewolf folklore. And Mira, of course, she does not believe in the silly fables told to children as bedtime stories. Of course. Mira stopped believing in fairy tales the moment her mom disappeared when she was 13, but as animal attacks began to wreck her hometown and make their way onto campus, Mira starts to question everything she once believed, thrown into a world filled with paranormal creatures, ancient curses, and 2 boys who are pining for her affection and how it could all be connected to her mom's disappearance. Mira's fate lies under the blood moon. This book definitely had its flaws. I wasn't always in love with the writing. I did feel like things could get really wordy, and not only was it wordy, but it was really repetitive at times. And I did feel like this story borderlined on being juvenile. I chose this book for my gothic read, I want to say, for my January TBR. And while I can, I guess, see how this book had gothic elements because it was like, it was paranormal and things of that nature, for me, I definitely did not feel gothic-y with this book. Now that I've read it, I definitely, if someone was like, I want a gothic recommendation, this would not be it for me. And to be fair, this book is, the setting is a university, so our main characters are, what, 18, 19, maybe 20 years old. Our main character is her freshman year of college, so I assume she's 18. But even with that, I just felt like it was kind of kiddie at times. Like, I have read plenty of YA books that didn't like scream, I'm written for a teenager, you know? But in the beginning, I definitely found myself worried that I wasn't going to continue reading it. Like, there were definitely times where I was like, oh, what is even going on? Like, do I even want to read this? Am I even enjoying this? I definitely found our female main character to be annoying at times. I just was really frustrated with her overwhelming sense of being clueless about like her surroundings and the situation, given that she grew up in a town that's full of lore and she grew up hearing the lore, and she just kind of behaved as if, I don't know, like this was all like a surprise to her. And I understand not believing in the folklore or, you know, or thinking like, oh, it's just all one big story. But because she knew the story and she knew the folklore, for her to behave so ignorantly and just so like, oh, I can't believe this is real, just like really like irked my nerves throughout the beginning and into the middle of the story. Like, it just, her perspective and her, I don't know, awareness of things, or I guess lack of awareness, just really, I just felt like it was overdone to the point where it made her unlikable at times. Her inability just to put two and two together, especially considering her history and like the knowledge of the town lore, like her inability just to connect the dots just drew out way too long for me, especially considering the size of the book wasn't very chunky. And so yeah, I just wish the author would have enlightened her sooner. I will say that I didn't realize this book was a YA book when I first picked it up and started reading it. And after I finished reading it and I went to go leave a review, I don't know, I felt it in me to Google if this book was YA. And per Google, this is a YA book. So after learning that, some of the characters, I don't know, just her ignorance, I guess, kind of made sense to me, because I had to put it in perspective. Like, okay, she's 18 and I don't know, she's figuring out life, I guess. And I guess believing in folklore would be, I don't know, I feel like as a teenager, you'd be more inclined to believe the supernatural than you would a full-fledged adult, because you are more in tune with reality, I guess, as an adult. And I feel like as a teenager, you'd be more, I don't know, more whimsical about it. I don't know. But I will say that after learning that it was a YA book, the writing did make more sense to me. There was a lot of over-explaining the college experience. Maybe if I was a 17-year-old girl, I would be more excited about and feel more, I don't know, invested in the over-explaining of certain things about college and about your parents and, like, you know, just things like that that maybe would resonate more with, I don't know, a 16, 17-year-old. But I'm 33, so there were a lot of times in the book where I was just like, oh my God, okay, I get it. Like, she's in college. I get it. Like, Jesus, can we move on from that? And I kind of had the same sentiment about her ignorance. I just was like, yeah, we get it. Like, let's, like, are there light bulbs? Like, is anyone home in the brain. So, but again, now that I realize that it's for, you know, not that YA is just for teenagers, but this book definitely felt like it was written for a younger girl. But with all of that said, towards like the, I don't know, the last like 40% of the book, maybe less, maybe I'm being nice, I did end up enjoying the book. The story was a good story. It's just our main character really, she just wasn't all that for me, but I think the overall story was good. The magic system was good. Our creatures were really good. We have both vampires and werewolves, and we've got like some family trauma and drama happening that is really interesting. So I did enjoy the book. It wasn't my favorite. I think it teeters between like a 2.75 and 3 stars for me. By the end of the book, I was pleased. I was pleasantly surprised at how much I did end up enjoying the book. I do hope that as the story continues to evolve, that our main character, our female main character, becomes less annoying. I did really enjoy our male main character. He is supernatural and he was less annoying, I guess because he already knew what was going on. He's very like ambiguous in the beginning, and as the story unfolds, which is of course her love interest in the story, as it unfolds he becomes more open with her and more like forthcoming with his motives. But yeah, I will read the second book when it comes out. This book just came out, I think, October of last year, or maybe later, maybe earlier this year. I don't know. It's a relatively new book. So I don't expect the second installment to come out maybe the end of this year, early 2027. Don't quote me on that. But when it does come out, I will read it. I'm gonna give the second book a chance just because I did find the story interesting. I just thought our female main character was really obnoxious. She just was a little annoying for me, but towards the end she did get better. So I hope that that better arc continues through the story. And as she matures just on page, I just hope that she evolves, because who she was in the beginning of the first book was, I mean, it almost ruined the story for me. So we'll see how it goes. The fifth and final book that I completed in January was A Vow and Vengeance by Jacqueline Rodriguez, and y'all, this book was absolutely everything. It was so good. It was so much fun. It was so well written. Literally everything I look for in a fantasy romance, and it just tickled my witchy little heart because this is a book centered around tarot magic. And I just thought the perspective and the incorporation of tarot in this book was just so phenomenal, so interesting. I loved every minute of it. We've got royalty and hierarchy and politics, and it's an academic setting, and we've got forbidden love, engagement of convenience, and a lot of family secrets, just secrets in general. Family secrets, personal secrets, forbidden secrets, all types of secrets. We've got a super strong and fantastic female main character. Absolutely loved our female main character. I loved our male main character as well. We've got a lot of great supporting characters, a lot of friendships forming. This was my first 5-star read of 2026. I did listen to it on Audible. It was a full cast and they did have accents, which I love. But even if not, even if I would have read this book on page, it would have been a page turner because it was so good. I listened to this book in 2 days. Like, I could not stop. It was so great. This book was just released this month, well, January 2026, so I know I'm probably gonna have to wait forever for the second book, which just breaks my heart because I don't want to forget anything. I'll definitely listen to it again. Like, once the second book comes out, I will re-listen to the first book because it's just so worth it. I don't want to get too deep into like the plot because it is a new release, and I don't want to accidentally like slip and spoil something. I don't want to say too much because I'm just so excited about this book. If you love fantasy romance, if you love magical systems and an academic setting and just like all the things, you're gonna love this book. You definitely will love this book. If you have Audible, I definitely recommend listening to it on Audible because it's just chef's kiss. I might re-listen to this book just like in my free time. Like, it's just so good. And I feel like because the magic system and the politics is so intricate, I might like hear something that I didn't hear before, you know, or I might even buy the physical copy and do like a tandem read. Ooh, that sounds good. If you can't tell, I'm really excited about this book. If you have not read this book, if you have not heard about this book, if you do not know that this book exists, you need to read it. Like, you need to drop whatever you're reading right now and go read A Vow in Vengeance because it's a masterpiece. All right, you guys, well, that does it for my January 2026 wrap up. I'm so excited about this video. If you liked this video, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Let me know down in the comments what you guys read in January. If you read any of the books that I read, let me know. I'm so intrigued and interested to know what you guys have been reading. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. That would mean the world to me. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.